Okay, welcome to a very special edition of The Rest of My Life. I'm sitting here in the living room, and next to me is my old radio show partner, Bonnie, my wife.
Hello, it's good that you went beyond the word old, dear.
And today is also a very special day because it's our daughter's 26th birthday.
And she's not here. The first year ever.
This is her first birthday. She's never been with us.
Yeah.
But she moved out more than a year ago, but I guess she spent her birthday with us last.
She did. The last couple of years she's been local, so she's been able to spend her birthday with us, but we weren't able to do the tradition when the kids were coming up. Their birthdays, one or the other of them, or if not both, would fall on a school day. So Lance would take an hour off early from work and come home, and we'd have a big breakfast birthday thing. A big spread of food, and of course cake and candles and presents. And this year we only had Peter to do that with.
Their birthdays are 4 days apart, so we don't celebrate Christmas, so we decided since their birthdays were so close together, we'd have that be their Christmas. That we have one celebration.
Well, we'd have each of their birthdays separate. When I was growing up, my sister and I were 5 days apart, and I was 16 before I finally had my own birthday, so I always wanted to make certain our kids had separate cake on their own days, and it just became a tradition, birthday breakfast, and we'd have, like we had with Peter this year, we'd have biscuits or rolls, and cheeses and fruit, and usually boiled eggs, and different juices, and then of course birthday cake.
But our daughter did stop by yesterday, and Bonnie's parents were here.
Yeah.
And
Cake day. That's what we're going to call it now. My mom, Stephanie, is the day before Peter's birthday. Her birthday is. So there's three birthdays right there within 5 days. So we just created cake day this year on a day that Reed could come into town. And being the grandparents, of course, they're retired. And they were able to be more flexible in their schedule. So we all got together yesterday and had cake to celebrate everyone.
So my dad seems to have forgotten their birthdays this year. So I dropped a little hint last night in the email.
Not good.
And he was, we had a back and forth about something. And he was asking, well, how you feeling about, your new medicine and everything? And I said, I feel good. Celebrated Reed's birthday yesterday, and something. So I guess he'll get the hint now. But
yeah, he's the only grandparent that forgot.
Well, I was going to say something else about that. Can't remember.
It's weird your parents not being together anymore because they were together for so long with the kids growing up.
Yeah. Looking at it now, I can quite clearly see them breaking up, but looking at it from a long time ago, I can't imagine them ever getting a divorce.
42 years. Is that how long they were married? Was it 42 years?
I thought it was 38.
I don't know.
I get confused between when he left and when they actually got a divorce.
That's true. He left her twice. What was it, 5 years apart the first time?
Well, we had just moved into this house.
Yeah, it wasn't long after because they'd had that big party. And Gina was there. And
they
put up the swings, and then I saw him and Gina together.
Let's see. I was going to say something about that. But anyway, so I'm off work this week, and I'm trying to make the most of it.
Have you been doing painting, drawing, what?
I finished a big painting and started a new one last night. And just jumped into it. And like always, when you start a painting, the minute you put something on the canvas, you regret it. And you just have to work through it and do the best you can. But I also I'm working on the new issue of the online magazine, and that took me a couple of days to start to get into it because it's a whole new direction. And but the funny thing is, even while you're fumbling around, you're thinking it's okay, it's okay. You've always found your way in the past. You just got to wait. And yesterday, early morning yesterday, I guess it was, everything fell into place, and I thought of exactly how to do it. And so that's what I've been doing, is just doing single panel drawings, and it's been working out fine. So I just kind of been taking it easy the last 2 days or so. I'm off all week. I might as well not bust my head. I'm trying to get some other stuff done. I will tell you, something made me think of Edward Gorey last night, or early this morning. And so I looked up some of his work online, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to start doing more backgrounds like that are more filled in with shading like that. Hey, I know what I'll do. I'll look around the house and find all of our Edward Gorey books and look at them. So I went. Apparently, we only have 2. That's one of the reasons I wanted to go to the university library today, is see if they had those compilations of his stuff. But the more you look at his stuff, the more I don't know what the right word is. The more monotonous it is. All of his faces are the same. And there's really, I mean, they have a definite mood to them, sort of creepy, silent forest mood. But a couple of looks was all I needed to get the general idea. Let me see. I had some more topics to go over. We'll think about them. So, anything you want to throw in?
So, I got home one day last week, and Lance had left up a cartoon for me. It was a George Price cartoon, and it's this couple, and they're sitting in their living room, and he's sprawled out asleep and just slovenly, and the woman is reading this book. What was the title of it, Lance?
Smart Women, Foolish Choices.
And she's looking over at him, and I thought, my husband really does have a good sense of humor. It's nice that we share that sense of humor, and I love all the different cartoonists from the New Yorker stable you've shared with me over the years. Now, you and I saw a documentary recently about one of the...
yeah, we watched a documentary on George Booth, and as always, one of the most fascinating things about studying an artist is seeing the space in which they live and work. And I love seeing pictures of artists and writers, studios and offices. Their accumulation of stuff over the years, the working surface, the desk.
Well, I think the one thing that interests me is the from an organizational angle, because I'm an organized person. I like to see how things grow organically, the way things that are used. When you moved your studio from next door into the house here, I thought, okay, this is going to be a good opportunity. I can help them out, and we put up some shelves and stuff. And one thing that was really interesting for me to watch was to see how you use the space differently. And then last year, when you greatly encouraged me to become creative in my own way, I set up an art desk for myself, and I thought, well, I'm going to do X. And I went into this space and I had my things that I was interested in. But the more I was in the space, the more I realized I didn't want to do X. I wanted to do something completely different. Because of the way that the space kind of changed things for me. And I'm curious to see how you're going to change over the next couple of years. You've got your music in there. You've got your sketches. You've got your large paintings, your small paintings, your collages. I'd like to see you go back to doing a lot of prints again. I mean, I love that period where you did a couple of wood prints. I know those are a pain, but there are other ways to do it.
Did you get that line I cut I sent you this morning?
Yeah, I wasn't as impressed, but it definitely looked like a pen sketch more than a line of cut.
Well, I have a book of, well, there's a magazine called Adweek, and apparently they used to put out a compilation at the end of every year of a bunch of illustrators, and I have their compilation for 1987, and there's this artist in there named Frances Jetter. And I've looked up her work before, because as soon as I looked her up, they had a picture of her, and I remembered the picture. But anyway, I looked at her work more closely on her website, and they had a whole section of her liner cuts, and I thought they were fantastic. So you ought to look at the other ones on her page. Okay. But I'd like to start doing some more prints like that. I hated that we had a local independent art supply store called The Loft here. It was open for a year. It must have been open for 40 years. And it went out of business. And years ago when I experimented with lino cuts, I bought a big piece of lino there. And I hate to have to go down to Hobby Lobby or Michael's and get some, but oh well.
Yeah, or go to Amazon and get it. Yeah.
I keep hoping I'll stumble across like an old building that has some on the floor, and I can just tear it up and take it home. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
What do you remember about Tanner's Art Store in downtown Athens?
I only maybe went in there one time, and that would have been 87.
You remember anything of the backstory of it closing?
Well, what happened, it was an old... Yeah, but I don't know what the building was originally. It was some factory or warehouse or something, and they had an art supply store in there, and it was very close to the university campus, and the university wanted the building, and he wouldn't sell. So they went to the city government and said, have the building declared unsafe and shut it down. And so they did. So the university bought it like for peanuts after they had it declared. What's the word? Anyway.
It was seized by eminent domain, I think, wasn't it?
Sort of, but they basically had the government do their bidding.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is I was driving past there the other day, and directly across the street is a new University of Georgia project that they have. You're going to love this. The goal of it is to help create small businesses. That it sits there in the shadow of Tanner's Art Supply building. There's a strong bit of irony there and hypocrisy on the university's part. And I just wonder if anybody really remembers that.
Nobody remembers, but that's the thing about a university town. Every 4 years, the population is completely different. It cycles in and out.
There are some old-timers here. I mean, I know people like Dennis Green who started the flagpole are out, but surely Pete McCommons remembers that. He's taken over there now. He's an Athens fixture.
6 months ago or so, I went out for one of my photography walks, and I parked near there. And I don't know how active the railroads are through downtown anymore, but the railroad tracks are right there. And there's a little building. I guess it had something to do with the railroad or something. But I walked down there, and it's all locked up, but you can still see inside of it. And it's this abandoned little office. There's a water fountain in there, and there's still like an old calendar up on the wall.
And right outside of it was that big machine.
There's a big machine that rides on the tracks, yeah.
Tracks, yeah.
And but that little building is so odd. It's smaller than our living room.
Yeah, it was tiny. It was like not a switching station, but
I think it's like a paperwork place. They stop because there's no machinery and no obvious sign that there was any at once.
Are they still burning coal over at UGA to do heating?
I don't know, but a long time ago, when I used to, well, I don't know if it was when I went to school there or when I worked there the first time. Further down
Past the station.
Further down the line, the railroad line, where the physical plant used to be, they had a mountain of coal over there.
Yeah.
And they had all these big smokestacks over there. I don't know.
And then when you would go outside, over especially near biology and Connor Hall and stuff, in the winter, the grates would be heated up for all the boiling. They would have the boilers on, and all the steam would be rising from those grates. And you couldn't get near them. You couldn't touch them. They were so hot.
Yeah. Yesterday, I went out alone, and like an idiot, I forgot to bring my camera. But I was out for about 2 hours driving around, and I went down through my old... I used to deliver mail on campus, and I drove part of my old route, and that was so much fun. Drove behind the chemistry building, and because I was trying to fix my chin-up bar, and I wanted some wire, but I didn't want to pay for it. So I thought, because you can always easily conjure up a place where somebody might have thrown out some wire or something. So I thought, there's always something out behind a building on campus. Anyway, so I drove over there, and it was just so bizarre to drive in these places where you used to work every day, go deliver mail. That was such a fun job. Well, I don't know. I'm looking at it nostalgically, I guess. So old now. One day, many, many years ago, I drove... I was delivering mail out behind the chemistry building, and one of the professors had... I don't know if he was throwing it out or just had left it out there on the loading dock with all the trash, but there was a box full of stuff that he was throwing out. It's a vase from Asia that was wrapped in bamboo webbing, and some old Japanese gift boxes, and some other stuff. I can't remember what it was. It was like a little box of knickknacks.
Didn't we get a book from that hall too?
Well, behind the there's a building across the street from the library called... It's where social work used to be. Well, no, not social work, but sociology. What is that building? Baldwin Hall? That's Baldwin Hall.
You mean UGA? Yes, Baldwin.
Yeah. I used to park there for free, so I wouldn't have to pay for parking. And go. But anyway, one day, I just looked in the dumpster, and some idiot had thrown out a book of Chinese ink paintings. And you would not believe the stuff that I have found thrown out over there over the years. How many chairs, big pieces of wood. What was that thing I found up near Mary Linden one day?
I don't know.
About 7 years ago. Oh. Physics was a fun building to deliver mail to, because I got to drive up onto the sidewalk and leave the van there.
I loved that space over there at Physics. He would go up there, and he had this little corner back behind Physics. It was this quiet little corner. He could sit and have his lunch every day.
University started off as an agricultural college. And Connor Hall is like the old focus of the agricultural school, and it's up on this hill, and they call it Ag Hill, even though now it's also chemistry and biosciences. But anyway, so I drove up that hill to get down towards the back of chemistry and all that, and I drove up to the top of it, and Connor Hall's on the left, and over here on the right is chemistry, and there's this big, broad sidewalk walking space, and I remember that's where I ran into Andre years and years ago. He died a couple years ago, but and he must have been. Well, no. What I'm getting at is, I think of him as being so much younger, but looking back on it, he was really only 3 years younger, 4 years, 5 years younger. And I was on my route, and we went to school there, and I just happened to bump into him. And he's like, "How's it going? This, that, because he really wanted me to be a writer." And he goes, "How's your writing going?" And I said, "Well, I'm really having trouble, this, that." And he said, "Well, you ought to write very little short pieces and work your way up." And amazingly, I thought that was a great piece of advice, and I started doing that, and that led to me writing whole books, which were just compilations of little short pieces.
You remember that book we read, Robert Silverberg, The World Within?
Yeah.
That book was actually a compilation of short stories he'd written for several science fiction magazines. And they had the same characters or similar characters and similar background. So he put them all together in that book.
Well, we've gone to the 22-minute mark.
Oh, have we?
That's not bad. I wish we could keep going, but there's a time limit on...
YouTube.
Well, no, just how long it'll take me to do this.
Okay.
So maybe we'll do another episode this week.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Maybe when we go out. I was going to go out today, but fuck
Rain's
it.
coming in, and it's just overcast, and it's a dreary day.
All right, folks, that's about it. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.